So it's been 2 years since I picked up my Tesla Model 3, and today I wanted to give you my long-term review, covering the issues that I've had, running costs, pros, cons, and what it's really like to live with an electric car, plus what I will be replacing it with. I have shared a few different videos of it over the last couple of years, including the collection day back in 2019, and even a 1,000 mile road trip that I did in the summer, but today is all about my experience of owning and driving the Model 3. But first, let's talk about the performance and the overall driving experience of this car. Now, I went for the long range version, which has a 0 to 60 acceleration of just 4.4 seconds. Now that's pretty quick, and it's quicker than any previous car that I've owned, which was around 5.2 seconds. But it's not just about the power, it's the instant pull, it's the no lag when you put your foot down. That feeling never gets old, and it's pretty addictive. But back in my 1 year review, I did say that I would never get bored of the power, but only a few months later I did actually buy that acceleration boost for £1,500. That reduced the 0 to 60 from 4.4 seconds to 3.7, but that half a second or so has made it feel like a whole new car, and definitely scratched that itch for more power. But £1,500 is a lot to spend on half a second, but it would have cost far more than that in a petrol car to get the same results. Every person that I've taken out in this car is genuinely blown away by just how fast it feels. And again, because there's no lag, there's no gears, it's an instant torque. Now the ride, comfort and handling to me is actually pretty decent. It feels firm and planted and never feels like it's going to roll. In fact, it feels like it's on rails when you're really pushing on. The regen braking is incredible. It's very rare that I use the actual brake pedal, as the car will brake for me when I let off the accelerator. Over time you learn to feather the accelerator pedal as you want to brake, and it works perfectly every time. A lot ask me whether I miss the noise of an exhaust or an engine. Well, I kind of do and don't. I used to love the sound of my exhaust or a V6 engine, but there's something awesome about being able to drive around in stealth mode. No matter how fast I'm going or accelerating, nobody can hear me. I do still turn my head at any car that sounds nice, but I don't miss not having a sound on this car. So the appearance of a car is obviously subjective. We don't all drive the same make and model. So while some will love the look of this car, others will hate the Model 3. Personally, I think it looks really nice. It's clean, it's minimal looking, it's not too busy or in your face. It looks sporty without being aggressively styled. I've made a handful of changes to mine, nothing drastic, like adding a spoiler to the rear, removing the area wheel covers, and using vinyl plates instead of plastic. I've also added some interior accessories like the metal foot pedals instead of rubber. The centre column, I've covered this with a matte black cover. Then I've added some products from Jeddah, including a coin tray and some other accessories, including a wireless charger. Most of these accessories are now included with the newer models, but at the time they were worth adding for me. In general, I still get a lot of comments about this car, even though these are everywhere. People still ask me what it is or what it's like to drive. It definitely stands out, but not in a kind of a supercar way. It just looks clean and it just looks nice. Day-to-day use is an absolute breeze. And if you've ever wondered what it's like having to charge an electric car, there's nothing to worry about. I charge mine to 80% and will get around 230 to 240 miles. It could last me an entire week before needing to charge it again, but typically I plug it in once the battery gets to about 30 to 40%. Charging at home is massively underrated. Being able to pull up on the drive each night, open the port and plug in a cable in, which takes me about 10 seconds. And that's it. Then the next morning it's charged up and it's ready to go. 99% of my charging is done at home, and a full charge from 0 to 100% will take roughly 8 to 10 hours. But typically I only need around 3 to 4 hours at most. The convenience of charging at home is huge for me, and visiting a petrol station seems like a distant memory. The thing is, I have spent 15 years fueling a car. I've stood at a pump for 4 to 5 minutes and handed over £70 for the pleasure. But I much prefer this. Waking up to a charged car, and even after 2 years, is not a hassle, and I've never forgotten to charge it. Range anxiety has never really been a problem for me, and there's nothing really to think about. Will I be driving less than 250 miles tomorrow? Is the car plugged in? And that's it. It's only an issue if you know you need to do more than 300 miles in a day, and that's when you really need to think ahead. Now, when I picked the car up, a 100% charge would show around 330 miles, and an 80% charge would show about 270. Today it's showing me 285 miles at 100%, and 231 miles at 80%. Now the range does take into account your recent driving style, and I've been doing a lot of shorter trips lately. On my longer trips though, I've not seen any noticeable difference in what I'm able to get. Also, winter plays a huge part in range, so I would expect to see a 20 to 30% loss if I've not preheated the car. But I can easily get 230 to 250 miles out of a single charge, which is more than enough for me for a daily use. When it comes to longer road trips, it's not a problem. I've done 2 1,000-mile road trips now and it's pretty easy. I did actually document one of these in a dedicated video back in the summer. I also regularly drive to Bristol, which is a 450-mile round trip. I stop once or maybe twice, and while I'm charging, I'm using the services. On the odd occasion where I do need to charge the car while travelling, I would stop the car after 3 or 4 hours, use the toilet and grab something to eat. While I'm doing that, the car is charging and it's ready to go within 20 to 25 minutes. Plus, as I've got 2 small children, 3 to 4 hours is long enough before stopping. Now, using autopilot is awesome. I did not opt for the full self-drive package, I've only got the free autopilot. Early on, I didn't see the advantage to it and I really didn't use it. But once you get on a long, boring road like the motorway, it's great. It's been very reliable for me, steering, accelerating and braking on its own. Now, the extra cost of full self-drive isn't worth it for me and my use. It's not something that I would benefit from. But if they brought out a monthly subscription I could test out and use for a few months, I would definitely give it a go. But it's not worth me investing thousands of pounds for a feature that I probably won't use. Right, so let me talk to you about the running cost of a Model 3. So over the last 2 years, I have covered 17,000 miles, or about 700 miles a month. That's a lot less than I would usually do, but that's down to the restrictions in 2020 and the fact that I work from home. As I mentioned before, I charge my car 99% at home, which means I can see exactly how much I'm spending on electric. I'm with Octopus, and as I'm on their Go tariff, I pay just 5 pence per kilowatt hour. I do have to charge the car between 12:30 AM and 4:30 AM to get that low rate, but it means it only costs me around £3.75 for a full 100% charge, which is around 250 to 300 miles. I've estimated that over the last 2 years it's cost me about £270 to charge at home, or around £11.25 per month. It could actually have been less, but for the first few months I was on a more expensive tariff. Now, there is also some public charging I need to include in those 17,000 miles, but I can say that I've never paid to charge the car while away from home. There are 2 reasons for this. One is that I make the effort to only choose free chargers, whether that's at supermarkets like Tesco or the shopping centres. Then the second reason is, thanks to more than 450 people using my referral code, I've got hundreds of thousands of free supercharger miles with Tesla. But to be fully transparent with you, the free supercharger miles that I have used over the last couple of years would have cost me £200 if I had to pay. In total, if it wasn't for those free miles, it would have still only cost me £470 for 2 years of electric, which is still far less than a petrol car would have cost to fuel it. Well, my last car was a BMW 335i, and it struggled to get 30 miles per gallon. Like for like, over 17,000 miles, that would have cost me £3,400. So in fuel alone, I've saved £3,000. I'd guess 300 miles in the Tesla would cost me £3.75, while in my old BMW it would cost me £62. Obviously, if you have a car that does 40 or 50 miles per gallon, the cost will be a lot less. Next up is insurance. I'm with Churchill and my first year premium was £450, then last year's was £378. That's a total of £828. I've just renewed again for next year and that's coming at £430, so a little bit more expensive but still pretty decent. And that's also taken into account the acceleration boost that I've added. Other running costs that you'd normally expect to incur over the first 2 years of ownership, like servicing and oil changes, don't really exist. Other than the odd brake fluid change, which the car will prompt you if it's needed, there aren't really any other costs. Earlier this month I did change 2 of my rear tyres as they were getting close to the legal limit, and those tyres cost me £372 for the pair. The front are fine and they have around 4 mil left on them. Then as it's an electric car, there's no road tax to pay either. This means over the last 2 years it's cost me a total of £1,470 to keep the car on the road. That is a massive saving over previous cars. My last car used to cost me more than £400 per year just in road tax. That's more than 2 years of electric in this car. One of the best features of a Tesla Model 3 is the fact that it's always improving. It's always getting better. They are constantly pushing updates out with new features for either the phone app or the car itself. You get a prompt when there's a new update and you just install it, and within 20 minutes it's good to go. When I got the car, you couldn't even watch Sentry events back on the screen. You had to remove the USB stick from the car, plug it into a laptop and check what had happened. So if something had gone wrong with the car while you were away from it, you wouldn't know until you got home. Now I'm so used to being able to watch Sentry events on the screen, it just seems mad to think this is a new feature. Another one, when in reverse it would only show you the one camera, and something I really wanted to see was if they could merge all 3 cameras together. And now when we put the car in reverse, we can see all 3 cameras. Scheduled charging is another one, so this could only be done within the car on the screen, but now this exists in the app. There have been loads of other features added that I can't really think about, but it just makes the car better each time you get a new update. And don't forget, there's no cost for this. Even the UI and the overall dash has had a change, given it a new fresher look. So everything is controlled via the screen in the Model 3. There are no other buttons or controls in the car other than a couple of scroll wheels on the steering wheel. Using the screen is easy, intuitive, and it does everything that you need. Another question I get frequently is it strange having the speedo not in front of you and to the side? Well, I can safely say, especially after 2 years, it is not an issue at all. Instead of glancing down at the steering wheel, you just glance slightly to the left to see it. But being able to access everything via the screen is both convenient and a pain. The large screen is awesome for maps, music, movies, or other entertainment, and it's great to see all of the settings in one place. But when you're driving and you need to turn your heated seat on or change the heater controls, it can be a little bit difficult. Of course, you can use voice commands by pressing the steering wheel button, but trying to watch the road while tapping the screen isn't easy. Other than that though, the screen is great. The maps and navigation is really good and something that I use a lot. I like that it tells you the estimated battery that you'll arrive with, and if you're not going to make it, it will redirect you to chargers along the way. This really takes the planning out of the trip, as the car will factor in those charging stops for you. And being able to use it for movies, Netflix and games is great. My children love this, especially when we're charging or we're out shopping and we're waiting. Let me talk to you about the issues and the faults that I've had. Within the first 2 weeks of picking it up, the wipers stopped working completely during a weekend of heavy rain. This meant the car was unsafe and literally undrivable. They tried to diagnose it remotely and it turned out the plug that connects to the motor had come loose. I couldn't drive it to them, so it had to be collected on a flatbed and returned a few days later. The second issue was down to the door alignment. So when you looked at the car from the side, you could see the doors didn't line up properly. This is more of a quality control issue than a fault, but it still wasn't very pleasing. The final issue was a clicking or a knocking sound that I was getting from the wheels when turning. Fortunately, I recorded this and I sent it to my local service centre. They diagnosed it and booked me in. It was actually fixed the same day, and it was due to a lack of lubrication on the drive shaft. That was over a year ago now and it has not come back. So the build quality is one of the biggest things discussed online about Tesla. For me, once I got those few issues sorted out, the rest of the car has been fine. No paint issues or mechanical problems, and nothing that a quick service visit couldn't sort. But the fact that any Tesla arrives with a fault, whether that's a panel cap or an overspray, just should not exist. My advice would be, if you are buying a Tesla, is give the car a full look over before signing for it. Make sure you are 100% happy with it. But if you've got a good service centre like I do at Tesla Leeds, they are great at sorting things out. So what improvements would I like to see added to the Model 3? Well, during my ownership over the last couple of years, we've already seen a new facelift version. That kind of answered most of my wishes. Things like the new powered boot that opens and closes automatically, the thicker glass on the doors which will help with noise reduction, even the D-chrome style on the outside, which I could do myself but is a nice upgrade. But none of these changes actually tempted me into swapping my car. And having used it for the last 2 years, I really don't think I would change anything. Everything just works as I would expect it to. Maybe just some better efficiency. It'd be great to see more miles from one charge. Now, if you've seen any of my previous Tesla videos, you'll know that I've always plugged my referral code, as each referral that I would get you and me 1,000 free supercharger miles. But a few months ago, Tesla actually dropped the referral program. It was a shame to see it go, but as the 1,000 miles is only worth about £60, it's not really a deal breaker when buying one. Now, the remaining miles that I've got will expire in around 2 years, but I don't think I'll ever get through them. So you might be wondering what I'm going to replace the Model 3 with next. It's probably no surprise it's going to be electric again. I'm fully converted now and I love the convenience of charging at home and the overall running costs. I would love to get a Model S or a Model X, but for me in my current situation, I just can't justify the cost. £100,000 is a lot of money for a car. But what I have ordered is a Tesla Model Y. I've enjoyed the Model 3 so much that I think the Model Y will be the perfect upgrade. It's very similar, but it's bigger, plus as it's a hatchback, it means it would be a little bit more practical for me and my family. Now, the Model Y doesn't launch in the UK until 2022, and I'd expect to see mine by summer 2022, which means it could be a new road trip video on the channel. So the last 2 years of being with the Model 3 has been awesome. I'm really pleased that I went for it. It was one of those decisions where I was on the fence for months and I couldn't really decide if I really wanted one, but it was definitely the right decision for me. And if you've got any questions about this car or ownership of an electric car, please let me know in the comments. And for those that are still here, thank you for watching. If you're here because you used to watch my Tesla content, I just wanted to apologise for not making enough. In the first year or so of having it, I had so much that I wanted to share and so many videos I wanted to publish. But since then, I've had nothing else to add. I'd only be repeating what I've done already and it would probably bore most of you. You've seen my road trips, my service visits, my charging and accessory videos. Hopefully next year I'll be able to share more content when the Model Y arrives. And with that in mind, I will probably share that on my second channel. So please make sure you go and sub to my second channel where I will definitely upload more Tesla content too. Well, you've just made it to the end of today's video, so thank you for watching. Let me know in the comments if you have or would have a Tesla, or would you go full electric? And if not, what would persuade you to? Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel and turn notifications on so you don't miss my next upload. You can also follow me over on Instagram and Twitter. Until next time.